I spent 100 days in Valheim. It is an open-world survival game inspired by the Viking culture. And my goal is to defeat all the bosses in the game. Currently, there are 7 of them, including the one in the new Ashlands update. So, without further ado, let's begin. Alright, day 1. So we have spawned in the world. Wielding nothing but a torch, I tried to look for resources around me. Saw a fragile little branch and I immediately started slapping it with my torch and I got some wood. And with the wood I obtained, I made myself a club. With the newly crafted club, I killed this innocent boar because we needed food to survive. I then continued my rampage and destroyed a lot of little trees. And after some time, I finally found some stones. Now I can craft new stuff like the stone axe and the hammer. So with the axe, it's much easier and faster to break these beech and get the wood they have. So for now, my primary focus was to get enough wood and stone so I can start making my base. I eventually found the place where we would summon Eikthyr and fight him. He is the first boss in the game, but I don't really have the items to summon him and I don't have the gears to face him yet. So while exploring the woods looking for resources, I found this abandoned house. So I took all the treasures that was inside this treasure chest. I found another house and this time it contained a beehive. I wasn't sure how I was gonna whack this down because I don't really have a bow or any ranged weapon. I tried my best with my axe, but it failed. And I was dying. I had like 11 health left. So it was time to make a crafting bench just to make a bow. After making a really simple area, I can finally use the workbench. This thing requires a roof and enough cover so you can craft stuff. And with my bow, I did my best and finally broke the beehive. I obtained both the honeys it contained and also the queen bee. And with the queen bee obtained, we can now make ourselves a beehive, which we can collect honey from time to time. I then encountered this really curious creature and I think it's aggressive because it was trying to approach us with all it had. And with my bow, I ended its life and got its loot, resins. So I noticed the place where I am currently is just being surrounded by the black forest. So I decided that this was a really suitable place to make a base. So I got started on plowing the ground to level everything. And this will be where our base is located. It's a very wide area with nothing but grass. But there's a bunch of rocks. And right now, I don't really have the pickaxe to remove those rocks. But at the very least, our very first area, there's not much rocks that we need to remove. I didn't really want to work on a nighttime, so I decided to make a small base at this abandoned house right here. And I slept the night. So I continued on working on my base. I just basically plowed the entire area of the land. After I was done with all the plowing, I started structuring the house I was planning to build. And for this house, I watched a guide on YouTube by DrLootCrate. I'll post the link of the guide in the description. But anyways, yeah, I followed his guide on making this house. I usually just have my base, whatever, like just on the ground or whatever I can place anything with. But for this playthrough, I decided that I really want a good looking base or a decent looking base at the very least. So I followed the guide on how to properly make a base because I really didn't understand how building works in this game. This building process honestly took me a while because I wasn't really familiar with how this works. I gathered a lot of wood as this house would be needing a bunch of wood. I didn't think that my first death in the game would involve trying to get wood. It feels really nice when everything is shaping up, so all that effort was for nothing. And we have a decent looking base. I had to make a bunch of stairs just so I can reach these building spots. I had to rebuild my chimney because I actually made it at the wrong spot. And after a lot of hard work, our base is finally finished. Look at our base. It looks so nice. I also followed the guide and made myself a storage area right here where we'll be storing all our chests. I then made a bunch of beehives with the available queen bees I had. And these honeys will be very useful later for various recipes on food and stuff. And now since we have a base, it was time to go hunting for deers and boars. I had a mod installed that shows me the locations of creatures around me, so hunting these deers and boars were not really hard since I can see where they are at the map. I didn't notice that I was already at the Black Forest, so I ran away as fast as I could because I don't really have any gears right now. So I continued my hunt for deers and boars. And because I was so close to the Black Forest, a gray dwarf actually tried to attack me. There were two of them, the grayling, which wasn't really a threat, but this 1-star gray dwarf could possibly kill me. But well, with my bow and club, I took care of it. And after searching for a while, I finally found a water source. And this place was crawling with lizards. We're gonna be needing their meat for recipes later on. My goal here right now was to look for something called a flint. Flints are the white rocks you find near water sources. And we need the flints to make flint gears. After all the hunting I did, I went home and crafted various stuff and also cooked all the meat I have obtained. I crafted myself a leather armor set consisting of a hat, an armor, and pants. I also crafted myself a flint spear and a wooden shield. So we're gonna be like a Spartan now with a one-handed spear and a shield. Since I now have the item to summon Eikthyr, I went to the altar and summoned Eikthyr. I felt like I was ready as I have a bow on hand and a leather armor set. So we engage on our very first boss battle with a Forsaken called Eikthyr. It was I guess, a mythical deer that like attacks with a lightning. He wasn't really that tanky actually. I'm dealing a lot of damage to it. I also felt really brave and combated it in melee because it dealt more damage and was way faster than just shooting it with a bow. It honestly didn't take long for me to defeat this first boss. I tried throwing my spear as an ending to this battle, but I missed. So I tried again. And boom, we defeated our first boss. So we got a trophy plus a hard antler. And so with the hard antler, we unlocked the recipe for a pickaxe. So for the trophy, we need to return to the altar so we can get the power of Eikthyr. So I placed the trophy at the sacrificial stone and got the power of Eikthyr. What it does is it improves our ability to run and jump for about 5 minutes, decreasing the stamina usage by 60%. Upon returning home, I made even more improvements to my workbench by adding a tanning rack, making my workbench to level 3. And since I have a pickaxe now, it was time for me to explore the Black Forest. And I immediately found a copper deposit where I started mining, but there were a bunch of threats surrounding me, so I have to take care of them. There were both the gray dwarfs and skeletons just nearby. So I realized how bad of a matchup the spear was against the skeleton. I think they're resistant to it because it's a piercing weapon and they're basically skeletons. The best weapon for this would be a club or the torch since they're blunt weapons. After mining some coppers, I went deeper in the forest and discovered I was at a snow biome. This was the mountain, and I was pretty scared that there might be wolves lurking around, so I have to run away. I was looking for both a burial chamber and some water source in the Black Forest. The water source was to look for tin, and for the burial chamber, I need something called a circling core, where I needed to make both the forge and the charcoal kiln so we can process our copper and the future tin. I regret exploring the Black Forest at night as I was being chased by a lot of grey dwarfs and I'm dying. I lured them to my base. My goal here was so they would leave me alone and I would regenerate and sleep here. But instead, they decided to stick around and try to raid the base. They kept throwing rocks at me. They tried destroying the base. But since I had windows, I can try and shoot them to death. After healing a bit at my base though, I decided to go out and kill them in a melee style. And once I have defeated all the grey dwarves, I slept. Next day, I finally found a burial chamber and it was being guarded by the skeleton right here. I don't know what's happening, but I can't seem to kill it. I think my attacks is blocked by the tree. After taking care of the skeleton, I went inside the burial chamber and I found a bunch of yellow mushroom that will become a snack for us. It didn't take long for me to actually die inside this chamber. I wasn't expecting there to be too many skeletons and I got trapped in a corner and I couldn't leave or get out. I need a better weapon. Spear was a really bad matchup, so I need to craft myself a club to deal with these skeletons. I went back for my loots and I took revenge on the skeletons that killed me. Now with a club on hand, it was way easier as they were weak to this. This place was honestly very disappointing as I didn't get a single circling core inside. I did, however, found a water source, so I started mining for the tin deposits. I continued my exploration at the Black Forest for another burial chamber, but I guess this Black Forest biome just near my base is a really badly generated area because I couldn't find another burial chamber. Honestly, exploring the Black Forest in the night is a bad idea because I was dying because I was surrounded by monsters. Well, I actually died from an arrow. I finally found one though, and hopefully I can get a bunch of circling cores here. I was very happy to see that there is a circling core here. Now I unlocked the recipe for a smelter and a charcoal kiln. I also found a room which tells me where the elder is, and oh my god, it's very far from where I am. Checking the map again, yes, it is really far. So this continued for a while as I needed a lot of cores so I can make a lot of furnace and charcoal kiln. Sometimes inside these chambers, there's something called a bone pile, which summons the skeletons. I usually just rush inside with my mace, never caring about my life so I can break it down. So I was minding my own business at base, trying to make an area where I can put my furnace and charcoal kilns. The forest was angry at me and raided my base. They weren't really a threat. It was just greylings and grey dwarfs. But I think the threat here would only be the brute if I get hit, and the shaman that keeps healing his allies. Honestly, this raid was a really good way to farm the grey dwarf eyes, because I would need a lot of those in the future. I realized that the monsters don't stop respawning, so I chilled inside my base until the forest was resting again. So after I heal a bit, I'm gonna go out and kill everything. And that takes care of the raid. So after the raid, I wasted no time and made the smelter. I really wanted to unlock new gears like new armor, new weapons, and most importantly, a pickaxe so I can mine faster. And since I have a pickaxe now, I can finally clear those annoying rocks in my base. So what happened next was just a repeat of collecting ores in the forest, going home to process them, and try to make new gears with the processed metals. Since a lot of bronze was needed to make the armor set, I decided that I won't go for the armor set, but instead I will just wait for my troll encounter and beat some trolls to make an armor out of them. And with the bronze I obtained, I made myself the bronze axe. Now I can chop birch trees. These things contain fine wood, and fine wood is used in so many things. The most important being able to create a portal. I then tried decorating my room where my bed is. I'm not sure what influences comfort level, but the more comfort level we have, the longer our rested buff is after waking up from a sleep. And since I had a surplus of items from all the hunting that I did, I upgraded most of my gears to the maximum amount I can. I honestly hate the progression for bronze because you both need copper and tin combined to make a bronze. So I really hate the grind. I already improved a lot of quality life for myself by increasing my weight and expanding my inventory slot by 1 row. But still, you can never get out of this process of collecting copper and tin and turning it into bronze. I also obtained some new wood type called the core wood from chopping pine wood. I discovered new recipes like the fine wood bow, the cultivator, and finally the bronze pickaxe. I raided another burial chambers as you can never have enough circling force. I made a mistake of making my cone wood into charcoal, so I had to chop some pine woods again so I can craft the pickaxe and the new bow. After going home with some core wood, I finally made the bronze pickaxe. I also crafted myself a cultivator so I can start farming once I have seeds, and the bronze Eikthyr. And with enough materials on hand, I finally made myself a portal. I can now go on adventures and easily go back home with a portal. I'll just need to bring the materials as I go on an adventure. I finally made myself a portal, and my plan is to just bring over the materials to make a portal anywhere in the world. My portal has no restrictions whatsoever, so I can bring metals inside portals. I also made another house structure because I needed a place to store my new stations. This is gonna be where my fermenters will be placed, along with other stuff like cauldrons or future stations that needs a roof. It didn't take that long to build this now because I still remember how I built my first base. So this was like a walk in the park now. So I placed inside my cauldron on my second house. I needed to build a wall so I prevent myself from stepping on fire. I can now make meads, and I just need a fermenter to turn these meads into potions. I can also craft new food like the Queen's Jam that gives a lot of stamina, as well as bird jerky that lasts for a while. I had enough materials to make myself a fermenter, and now I'm processing a minor healing potion. Finally a potion to save our butt when we're in trouble. My cultivator could also make grass now, so I just scattered a bunch of grass on my base so it doesn't look like a wasteland. Exploring on another side of the Black Forest, I finally found our very first troll enemy. Wasn't sure if I would survive any attacks from this troll, so I maintained my distance and tried to take it down with my bow and some fire arrows. So this went on for a while since, well, my bow damage wasn't really that high, but at the very least, I'm safe from harm by maintaining this distance. And with persistence, I finally took it down, and we got its loot. We even got a trophy. Look at that big head. I found another one where we found our first one. I guess the trolls are abundant here on this side of the Black Forest. Raided another burial chamber, but this time I got a better hammer. I can slam the ground and just kill the skeletons behind the doors. It was a good strategy to just close the door and slam my hammer down. It doesn't really deal that much damage, but at the very least I'm safe. Upon going home and with the materials we got from the troll, I made myself the troll armor set alongside a cape. I also added 3 more beehives on my beehive farm. Upon checking my fermenter, my healing potions were already ready. Now I can chug some potions down whenever I'm in danger. I continued to mine for copper, tin, and process them to bronze. I was preparing myself to have all the bronze weapons that I need. A slash weapon, a blunt weapon, and a pierce weapon. And once we have all of those, it's time to go to the Elder. It took me this long to finally find myself some carrot seeds. So I returned home immediately and started working on my farming area. So I planted all the carrot seeds I had on hand, which were about 9 pieces. And then I went back to the place where I left at the Black Forest. I decided it was finally time to set sail towards the Elder. So I made an area where I placed a portal to go home and get materials to make a boat. I just needed some leather scraps and resins. After getting all the materials, I made myself a raft and I was heading now to the Elder. I totally forgot that I could have made a ship if I just made some bronze nails. So we'll make that ship some other time. For now, this raft was enough. The only good thing about this adventure was we have the tailwind. So it didn't really take long for me to reach the other island. And it was a black forest as well. There was actually a very large mountain area here that was blocking my way to convenience towards the Elder. So I have to circulate the area in order to reach the Elder. I dropped by this random burial chamber I found first because I wanted more cores. I then found myself a troll cave as I was on my way to the Elder. I decided that I think I was strong enough and I was ready to challenge this troll. Wait, he's not moving. Is he stuck? Aw. Poor guy. Never mind. I was hoping for an easy fight, but it began moving. So I had to rely on my dodging timings so I don't get hit by this troll. I think one hit would be lethal from this guy because I swear I only have a troll armor and I only have 87 health right now. Okay. Okay. Oh, no, one shot. Woo, well, I almost died and had to travel a very long way again if I did die. But we didn't and we emerged victorious. So let's go. I keep getting distracted and looting a bunch of burial chambers. So I guess the Elder needs to wait. As I continued my journey, I actually found the swamp area. So I was very happy that I didn't need to look for this place. But also, there posed a problem where the Black Forest is sandwiched by both the swamp and the mountain biome. So I need to make a safe area to place a portal so if ever we die, we're pretty close to the Elder now. So I made a small tree house and placed a portal inside. This should be protected from random enemies that come here, like this jogger right here. So for now, I went home and redecorated where I placed my charcoal kiln and forge in the base because it looked really stacked up when I placed it near my houses. So now the center part of my base is where my portal is gonna be. And since I had gotten even more troll hides from killing trolls, I upgraded my armor set. And finally resumed my journey towards the Elder. And we arrived at the altar. So before I initiated the fight, I mined underneath the altar so I can put a portal for a safety measure. I went to my base first and did a bunch of random stuff like planting some carrots, preparing my gears, and prepared some fire arrows for the upcoming fight. After I was finally ready, I offered up the ancient seeds to the ancient bowl. And now we begin our fight. The moment the Elder spawned, I immediately showered it with fire arrows, letting the giant wood burn. The Elder only had like 2 attack patterns on long range. He summoned roots that would attack me, and also did like a throwable root attack, which spreads like a parasite like this. But I can always just get a rock cover, so it doesn't hit me at all. He also had one melee attack, but I would never dare to go on a melee battle with this guy. He looks really huge. So we'll just slowly chip away at his HP with our fire arrows. A couple of arrows later, he was already begging for his life. And with this final shot, I have defeated the Elder and got his trophy and a swamp key. We can now go to swamp dungeons. I wasted no time and headed immediately to the swamp. I was pretty excited to get irons. But for now, since I found a bunch of ancient trees nearby, well, most of the trees in the swamp is ancient. So yeah, I grabbed my axe and chopped the wood to get some ancient barks. The only thing I hate about the swamp is it's full of water and you get a wet debuff. And a wet debuff would mean slower stamina regeneration, I believe. I also worked on climbing some trees to get some guck. So these green things are the guck. For now, I returned home and worked on making another area on the farm. I had found some turnip seeds while I was exploring the swamp. I think I found it from an abandoned house. I then grabbed the poison-resistant potion and the minor stamina mead I made at my fermenters. Crafted a bunch more fire arrows, repaired my gears, just getting ready to explore the swamps again. Went to my shrine and placed the Elder trophy. What the Elder power does is it improves our damage against trees. And since there were lizards nearby, I hunted them as well as I needed more tails for more poison meads. I'll be needing a bunch of them because I'll be taking my time on the swamp as I need a lot of iron ores. I also crafted a new type of food which would boost my health by a lot. Then it was finally time to go to the swamp and look for the dungeon. And after checking the entire area, it was actually just a very small swamp. And I was so disappointed. There was not a single dungeon here. So I just went home and prepared a bunch of stuff like potions and some materials for a bigger boat because we need to look for another swamp. I went to the swamp again and there was actually another portion of the swamp and I fought this abomination right here. It seems it was weak to an axe because, well, surely it's a wood. It took a while, but after slashing it a couple of times with my axe and dodging all its attack by rolling, I beat it and got its wonderful loots. Honestly, after checking the other segment of the swamp as well, there was no dungeon at all. I hate it. I really need to look for another swamp. I went to check the other side of the island, but there was nothing. Exploring some more on another island, I finally found another swamp biome. So I started making a house to house a portal and a crafting bench. So this place will be called Swamp Number 2. I basically just name my biomes on where I am. Like Swamp 1, Swamp 2. So this is Swamp 2. Actually got pretty lucky that the Bonemass summon is just right here. So I started plowing the land. So when we fight Bonemass, we have a really stable land without like any water that would stop our movement. I also found a circling area right here. So I'm gonna plow the land there so they will just die in the water. They are gonna be our circling core farm and coals. And I finally found the dungeon that we were looking for. So I set up a workbench and a portal so I can just take home the irons I mine. I'm gonna go home for now to store all the loot I have on my inventory. Tended my farm first as my carrots were ready. My turnips were also ready, so I was very pleased for this. Now I can make a spice rack to improve our cauldron. I replanted most of them as seed though, because I would like a stock of turnips on my farm. By placing the spice rack, I learned new recipes. I got the sausages, milkshake, a black soup, and a turnip stew. The sausages were amazing as it gave like 55 health. As for the mock shake, it gave like 50 stamina. So yeah, our stats are improving. After I was done tending my base, it was time to go to the sunken crypts. I started mining all the muddy scrap piles that were blocking this crypt. And these things sometimes give something like a scrap iron, which we can put in a furnace to make iron bars. There were a bunch of monsters in this crypt, but they're not as dangerous as the outsides of the crypt, because there's like a limited space for the monsters to move around here. And some are stuck, like this guy right here. He can't go down the stairs because a chest is blocking his way. The only disappointing part of this dungeon or crypt was that it was so small. I already finished exploring the entire area and I only got like a few iron. So I went home for now, made a bunch of a furnace so I can process all the irons I have. Crafted myself a new shield. Then explored the swamp again to look for another crypt. I saw some green light thinking it was the crypt I was looking for. But I felt so scammed when it was just some lighting and a bunch of monsters and a single chest. I also saw this lone wraith, so I started shooting it with fire arrows as I don't know what to use to kill it. Maybe all weapons work, whatever, but let's just burn it with fire. And by killing this wraith, I got a chain. Now I had a lot of new recipes. And finally, this time for sure, this was a crypt. Now I can set up my portal here and start mining some irons inside. Once again, I was disappointed in this crypt because it was so small. Smaller than the previous crypt I raided. So I had to look for another one. But it didn't take long. I found another crypt just straight ahead. And while I was setting up my workbench and portal, a random abomination just decided to arise from the soil. So I had to take care of this first. This thing was big, but if you know how to dodge his attacks, it's not really threatening. So now finally, I was very satisfied with this crypt as it was huge. Like, very huge. There were so many rooms inside. So I frequently went home to process the irons and then go back to the crypt to get more irons. With the irons I have obtained, I can now upgrade my workstations by adding new forge improvements like this bellows. I didn't really have a lot of space inside my house anymore. So I decided to expand the back part of where my workstations are. Transferred most of the workstation upgrades behind this area so that the front won't look very cluttered. Everything is behind here. Except for some, like the bellows right here, because it needs to be close to the forge. I don't know. I tried putting it somewhere else, but it doesn't work out. So the one thing I really need is the mace, because the Bonemass is like a giant bone-like slime. So the mace or blunt attack is one of its weakness. I also crafted the entire iron armor set. So now we have a lot of defense. I also crafted a lot of goodies like the iron Eikthyr, the iron axe, the iron pickaxe, and the iron buckler. Honestly, I was loaded with iron thanks to that crypt that was very large. I then harvested my turnip seeds as they were ready and planted actual turnips. Since I wasn't done with the crypt yet, I continued my grind inside. I decided to make a very small house here to place a portal that says a coal farm or circling core farm. The only thing left now was to prepare for the Bonemass fight. And, well, after preparing, I decided to decorate my base a bit by adding some hanging braziers. As I was about to fight the Bonemass, an abomination came, so I had to take care of it first. But now it was time to summon the Bonemass by offering it withered bones. So yeah, for the Bonemass, don't think it's weak with the arrow and fire. I believe it should be weak by frost arrows, but I don't really have one. So what I can do is basically just tank the poison since I have poison resistance. It doesn't really matter. For his wings, I really need to time the dodge and just whack this guy till it dies with my mace. I'm doing a really good damage. As you can see, the HP is almost 3/4 already. Just the timing for dodges, then whacking it with a mace should do the trick. This guy's attack isn't really complicated. He just swings either left or right, and you just need to time it well. Then I dodge. Just like that. And he spews poison like this, but like I said, we have poison resistance. It doesn't matter. The only problem is we don't have visuals once he does that, so I like to back away. And once I have like a pretty good visual on how he attacks, it's gonna be an easy fight. One thing he also does is like throw parts of his body, and he will summon either a blob or skeletons to fight for him. I focus on them so we don't have any annoyance on this one-on-one fight. And after smacking the Bonemass a bit more, he eventually met his doom. And we got ourselves a wishbone and the Bonemass trophy. So with the wishbone equipped, we can now find things underground that are not usually detected. Like, let's say, silver ores in the mountain or some hidden treasures underground. So I went home and decided I wanted an area where I would place a bunch of my portals. So I started working on building another house with the same design because I don't know any other design. I honestly did not need to make this into a house. Just laying down the floor would have been fine and place a bunch of portals. But well, the rain made me think otherwise. It's not like it wouldn't function with rain, but you know, I just want this inside a house. And with this last piece, we finish our portal house. Let's go. I then teleported myself to the shrine to place the Bonemass trophy and got its power. It basically gives me a massive protection against physical attacks like slash, blunt, and pierce, I believe. I then headed to the mountain just near my base, established a portal on this abandoned base right here. I checked out the entire area, but I didn't get any readings for silver. I did encounter some wolves, but no drakes or golems. So I guess this mountain was like a small mountain with nothing but wolves. Yep, absolutely nothing but wolves here. Upon arriving home, I made myself the dragon bed, an improvement to our straw bed. I also made the wolf rug. Hopefully both of these things would increase my comfort. While I was walking around my base, I noticed that the wishbone was sticking. And I felt it. It was here. Down here was the treasure. I dug up the area and I actually found a chest. Contained some gold, some silver necklace, and arrows. So yeah, we got some treasure. I then went back to the swamp area where we defeated the Bonemass, as I noticed that there was a snow mountain here. Hopefully it's a big snow mountain with a lot of things inside. After arriving at the mountain, it was huge. Like, oh my god, I got a lot of climbing to do. While climbing up this mountain, I found a obsidian deposit. So I mined it, of course. I unlocked recipes for some poison arrows, obsidian arrows, and a tool shell. An upgrade to our workstations. So I found this abandoned house here and I wanted to repair it. It's gonna be our base for our portal. But a random golem decided to attack us. So I needed to use the power of the Bonemass so it doesn't do anything to me. And I took care of the golem, no sweat on our forehead. So I continued working on the small base I wanted to make for our portal. Until suddenly, another golem appeared. And it broke everything. And I was like, yeah, I can't build a house here. It's full of monsters. So I instead went up higher in the mountain and I wanted to build my base up here. Suddenly my wishbone was ticking like a metal. So I thought, oh my god, I actually found a silver ore right here. And yeah, I did. There was a silver vein just below me. So now we don't need to worry about finding silver ores because it's just here. Before I continued mining the silver ore, I really need that temporary house that would save us the trouble from coming back here if ever we died. So I finished the small house and placed a portal. And I then continued mining. And I swear to God, this place is very dangerous. I always get attacked like a random drake, a random wolf, or whatever that's close to the vicinity. The most hated enemy was probably the golem because oh my god, it can kill me if I'm not careful. And I thought it couldn't get worse. Suddenly, I was being haunted. So I tried running away to the top of the hill. And I made myself a area here with my hole. Now the wolves can't get to me. I'm pretty safe. Maybe I should... Wait, is destroying my freaking thing! So yes, they couldn't get me, so they decided to get my base. So it went on for a while, and once I killed all the wolf and I wasn't being hunted anymore, I needed to repair my base. And after everything that has happened so far, it was time to mine the silver vein again. I made a portal just inside the mining area so I can leave all the silver to my furnace to process and go back and mine some more. I then crafted the wolf hide armor and pants. There's really no helmet right now. I needed to get trophies from the drake to make a drake helmet. I also crafted myself a new bow called the Draugr Fang. It has an effect of poisoning the enemies hit with my arrow. I also crafted something to improve my cauldron, and now I unlock new recipes for food, like the ice cream and wolf jerky. I raided this abandoned fortress and found the thing that shows you where the boss is. And it was pretty close by actually. I was very happy that I didn't need to travel across the sea to look for this boss. I then found a drake nest which contained some dragon eggs. And this will be useful in summoning the boss. My wishbone then detected another area where silver ore was available, so it was time to start mining again. I then barricaded the place by raising the ground so I won't be disturbed while mining. I then crafted myself a new shield called the Silver Shield. Went on an upgrade spree on my Draugr Fang because I know the next boss is a flying dragon and this will be very useful. I just left a portal at the silver vein since I felt like I already have enough silver on my inventory and I didn't need to mine some more. So now it was time to go to the boss summoning location. And while on the way, I hunted a bunch of drakes as I needed their trophy so I can craft a new helmet. And after a long walking running session, I finally arrived at the boss summoning altar. I dealt with the surrounding monsters first. Basically a lot of drakes because there was actually a drake nest just beside this summoning altar. Just like the elder, I dug up an area just below the altar so I can set up a portal where I can come back anytime if ever I die from this boss fight. Returning to base, I crafted myself the drake helmet and look how cool this helmet is. It has horns. Look, I'm like a dragon. Yeah. And since I had a lot of silver bars, I upgraded most of my armor set. Then I worked on my farm and expanded it as I found another seed. I found some onion seeds on the... I don't know how to call those places. Those abandoned towers where monsters lie. So yeah, I found some onion seeds there, so it's time to grow them in the base. And so, feeling ready, I went back to the boss summoning altar and summoned the boss. So we have summoned this dreadful creature called Mother, the Mother Dragon. Not actually its title, but Mother sounds like mother. So I was like, the Mother Dragon. Anyways, this boss was pretty tanky, so I really wanted a melee combat. I just needed to dodge his icicle attacks when he's flying like that. And if he goes to the ground, it's easy to just dodge all his melee attacks. The only thing that needs to take notice is probably his ice breath, so we don't freeze to death and die. So whenever Molder goes to the ground, I initiate a melee fight using my Iron Mace. And since I had an available Bonemass buff, I decided to just face tank everything and slap his face with my deadly hammer. But I was too short to actually hit his face. So this went on for a while, just a cycle of Molder flying and shooting icicles, or sometimes going down and using his ferocious mouth or paws or claws. He would try his best to eliminate me from this world. But with my Bonemass buff and frost resistance, I can honestly just tank everything he throws at me. But after losing my Bonemass buff, I actually ran away because I panicked that I might die in like 2 hits, 3 hits or something. I needed to play safe now that I don't have the buff. By playing it safe, I mean like dodging everything, pay attention, not like just pay attention, I guess. And I should be able to dodge everything. And after a long struggle of whacking this dragon, I finally defeated Molder and earned myself the trophy and some dragon tears. I placed the trophy in the altar, and this is gonna be very useful when we're gonna look for either Mistlands or Ashlands. The power of Molder is basically for 5 minutes, we're always gonna have a tailwind when we're sailing, meaning wind's gonna push us to wherever direction we want to go to. So with the dragon tears, I made the artisan table. This table looks really cool because it's moving, unlike the other table which is stationary. I also crafted myself the loom even if I didn't have any flax to process. So now we'll need to look for the plains for the next boss. But I noticed this little bag looking icon and was very curious. So I went ahead and went to it because there was a portal nearby this icon. And it was a merchant called Haldor, and he sold a bunch of random stuff. So I bought myself some Thunderstones and Emir's Flesh. By buying Emir's Flesh, I unlock a recipe for a Frost Hammer. And for the Thunderstone, I can now make an Obliterator. What it actually does is if you offer up some random materials to give to Thor, he would convert it to coal. I also sold some other stuff that I wasn't really interested in. And so I went on my journey to look for the plains. It was actually just below this mountain area where we fought Molder. I don't know what's happening, but I got this bug which makes my character very slippery, so I just slide and can't get out of this sliding animation. And while I was stuck at the random bushes right here, I decided to make a portal because if we die like this, then at least we can come back to get our body. This was happening because of a certain mod that I had. I thought it was my world being bugged because if you can see the world, it's like it's glitching out. I was thinking that maybe the plains has been fused together with the mountain. And I only get this slippery feel when I'm at the plains, but when I go back to the meadows or the black forest or the swamp, it returns to normal and I don't slide. So since it's already here and we are already far from the game, the only way I can walk without sliding is by plowing the land to become leveled, and I can walk normally. Wasn't really easy because I was being attacked by both the mosquito and the black slime. I do manage to run away each time, but it's still very annoying to have this bug. So once I plow a certain amount of land and can move freely, I'll kill both of these guys. So let's talk about monsters. For the earlier monsters, you saw the mosquito. It's one of the enemies that a lot of players struggle with. But if you know how to fight it, you just need to raise your shield up, let it attack your shield, then whack it to that in one shot. Or you can shoot an arrow to the mosquito. So anyways, these are the fuelings. They're little goblins in this place. And they drop the next set of metals called the black metal, where we can smelt in a blast furnace, which we need to craft. And this giant thing is a Lox. And it's very strong and I hate fighting it. But we'll be needing its pelt and its meat, so we need to kill it. It only needs like 2 strikes for it to kill me. So I really need to be careful when fighting this Lox. Thinking I could take on the second one, I tried my best to dodge, but well, with its big body, it killed me. I then came back for revenge using my bow, so we have a safe distance. And then I grabbed my dropped items. And after exploring some more with a hoe on hand so we can actually run in this place, so I realized I only float or slide when I jump. But I'm actually fine if I just walk or run in the plains. And as you can see, I found a fueling base. And hopefully it would contain either barley or flax. While combating some enemy, I did not realize there were actually a lot of fuelings in that village. So I had to run away because this 2-star fueling was so strong. I tried my strategy with the wolf, but the fuelings had range attackers like spear throwing and bow. It didn't last long before I got pushed down from my stone tower. And I slid down towards the water and died from fall damage. Amazing. I came back for my gears and started killing a bunch of fuelings again. I really wanted to raid the village for its loots. As long as I don't get near this berserker, I should be fine. Because these things do massive damage when they hit you. I honestly hate how tanky they are, because it takes me very long to kill one and there's like a bunch of them left in the village. And when I thought that the berserker was the problem, it was actually this 2-star fueling right here. Look at his slap. Look, my HP was like gone. It took a while, but I killed it. And then again, there was another 2-star fueling. I hate it. I hate it so much. And after killing this guy, it was smooth sailing afterwards because all the berserkers and the 2-star 1-star fuelings were already gone. And what remains were the shaman that does like magic damage, but it wasn't really a threat. And like 2 more fuelings. So yeah, this place is gonna be my flax farm. There was actually 1 more berserker, but it wasn't a problem since, you know, we can just maintain height and it can't do anything to us. Some of the flax I placed on the loom was finally ready, so now I unlock a bunch of new recipes for an armor, weapons, and other stuff. Couldn't really craft anything at the moment because I didn't have that much linen, but it's nice to know that we have unlocked a lot of new recipes. After waiting for a bit, I finally got the remaining 4 linen to make the porcupine. I recycled my iron mace to get the iron back. This is also a mod I added. What it does is if you don't need your current weapon anymore, you can just recycle it and get everything back. I made an additional 2 blast furnace, so I worked on some of the black metals. Then went back to the village, which I turned into my flax farm and planted the remainder of my flax. After all that, I went home and checked all the new stuff I could make, especially the food. I now have something called a wolf skewer, which gives more HP than the sausage. I also replanted the onions I harvested into some seed onions, so I got some onion seeds on stock. Went over my circling core or coal farm because I was running out of coal and I was too lazy to chop some wood, and these things drop a lot of coals if you AFK for a bit. I then went to the Black Forest as I needed copper for, I believe, workshop improvements. Then I continued my adventures in the plain to locate more villages. Didn't get a single boss summon item on the previous village, but I did get the flax, so I'm happy with that. When I first battled these growth slimes, they were very threatening to me, but now I know I could just either use up my power of the Bonemass or shield up, then they wouldn't really do that much damage, and I could just rush them in with my porcupine and whack them to death in 2 hits. I also farm a bunch of these new berries called the cloud berries, and a bunch of new food items require these, and those food items are amazing because they give like a lot of stamina or health. And after a bit of looking around, I found another village filled with fuelings. When I say filled, I mean it's very populated with these freaking goblins. But they were having a hard time reaching me because I was just standing around this rock. I'm not sure, they're having trouble swimming, I guess. I also took care of the berserker guardian in the village. Like this guy right here. I was so happy to find that this village had so many barleys planted on its farm. So now we can make flour and make bread. The number 1 threat in this place was this Lox right here. The Lox are honestly really strong monsters. Look at that damage, and it just pushes me around, and it's very tanky as well. It took me quite a while to kill this thing. And when I thought it was over and I could finally get the lovely barleys, another one dropped by. You know that I'm bugged, right? So he just attacked me like that, and I was sent flying non-stop. Like, it was crazy. Just glad that I didn't die from full damage from all that sliding. I went back to combat the Lox, but he pushed me again and I died. So I went back for my items and finished it off with a bow in a safe distance. Now finally, no one will disturb us from looting this village. Processed all the flax I have gained on that other village. I didn't need to save any anymore since I already replanted some on the other village. I also placed a bunch of barley in my windmill as I have a lot of them. I had to make another windmill to double the production. And then I finally made myself an oven. Now we can cook some bread or pies or whatever we can cook inside here. I also crafted myself some fire resistance mead so I can turn it into potions. And then the 2 types of bread we can make, it's either the unbaked lox pie or the regular bread from the bread dough. The buffs from the pie and the bread are amazing, like very amazing. There's a lot of health and stamina buffs they give. Aside from all of these other foods in the cauldron, they're just one of the best. I then made both the armor and the pants since I had enough linen to make those 2. I didn't have enough to make the helmet though, so the dark helmet is what I'm still wearing right now. I also upgraded my cape to the Lux cape. This had frost resistance, so this was way awesome than the troll cape I had, and it looks cooler actually. Upon checking my flax farm, it was finally ready for harvest. So let's take all these flax, replant some, and process them to linen. I didn't forget to plant our barleys here as well, so we have a supply of bread. With that, I made an armor stand to say goodbye to my previous armor set. And now I just need to make the helmet and I have a complete one. As I was running out of coals from smelting so many black metals, I went to my farm again. I then resumed my journey to look for more villages to raid so we can get some totems and we get an idea where the boss might be located. After exploring all the areas of the plain on the island I was on, there wasn't really any more villages or the boss summons. So I needed to set sail again to the world to find another plains. I just went home and prepared myself for the upcoming adventure of looking for another plains. So the day has come and we have set sail to look for a new land. I encountered a sea serpent along the way, but I didn't feel threatened as the wind was on my favor. It was chasing me down though. I eventually saw land nearby, but it still kept chasing. I was so happy that the next land area was also in the plain, so hopefully there's a village here. I decided to shoot my bow to the serpent, and to my surprise, I did a pretty decent damage actually, and it ran away. I then set up a mini teleport area called the plains, or plains 2 I mean. because I already have the plains. I was so happy to find that there was a large village in this island. It was located in a border of a swamp area, so I guess they'll be fighting some joggers as well, so they'll be distracted fighting them than noticing me who's assassinating some fuelings. So I sneakily tried to assassinate them one by one, but I don't know, I couldn't one-shot this guy and everyone was alerted. They had a hard time coming to me though because it was separated by a river, and it doesn't look like they have any berserkers out here. I actually ran out of arrows. I totally forgot to stock up. But I noticed that the fuelings are fighting swamp monsters. So this was pretty good, honestly. I couldn't really fight. Well, I could, but I decided not to and just went home instead and planted more onions. I then went back, and this time I had arrows on me. It didn't take long for me to kill all the fuelings in the area, as I had a really great sniping spot after killing an archer. I then grabbed all the crops they have planted in this place, and also I was happy to find that there were totems here. So I nabbed those too. I just needed like 2 more and I should be able to summon the boss. For now, I decided to go home and process all the loot I've got so far. I then resumed my journey to look for more villages, but I found this really small, I don't know what to call this, I guess fueling guardhouse or something. Only contained like a treasure chest and about 2 fuelings guarding it. So I disturbed their peace and destroyed them. And while looking around some more... Oh, there's the Yagluth. Very obvious structure right there. So I found both the boss altar and a village right here. And since it was pretty big, I assumed there should be totems inside. So I started killing the fuelings one by one. I wanted to drown them in this tar right here, but I didn't think it wouldn't work out. But it did help in slowing them down on approaching me. There were like 2 berserkers and I can't deal with 2 berserkers. And after taking care of the remaining fuelings, yes, there were some totems. And now I am ready to summon Yagluth. I have the 5 totems I need now. Since you know my game is bugged, I leveled the ground where we'll fight the boss first. I also killed a bunch of potential threats that might join the fight, like these group of black slimes, which are very annoying because I can't go near them. But I did my best to like lure them closer by hiding behind a wall or something. I ultimately decided to just run away and go home, craft some frost arrows, and deal with them that way because there were just too many of them and I can't really go near them because they fired a bunch of tars at me. So after some preparation, I went back to the place of Yagluth and continued plowing the land. I then killed the slimes one by one until there was nothing left. And suddenly, while I was minding my own business, a group of wolves decided to prey on me. I was being hunted right now. And honestly, I didn't have any portal nearby. So if I died from these wolves, it was over. Like, I needed to walk here again, which was very far. I made a mistake of destroying the portal I used to go home and stock on some cross arrows. And it's not like I can build one right now because I'm being ganged by the wolves. So a good strat for me right here was just to continue blocking until they stop attacking me. So I just block until they found it tiresome to deal with me. And once the raid event was over, I slowly killed them one by one. And I was so glad I was safe and didn't die. Learning my lesson, I made myself a portal if ever I died by some random event. And finally, with a lot of preparations done, it was time to summon Yagluth. So I drank a fire-resistant potion and a poison-resistant potion. I wasn't sure if he does poison damage, so it was always nice to have some poison resistance. So the giant skeleton emerged from the ground. And this was honestly a very long fight as he was very tanky. I wasn't too sure what his attack pattern was because last time I played this, I only defeated Moder. So I guess one of his attacks consisted of him summoning some meteor showers. Another one was this fire breath. And if you get close enough, he will have this smacking fire attack where the whole area is burning. So all in all, only those 3 attack patterns. But the burning hurts. He felt pretty safe and protected because of the pillars he had on the base. It sometimes took the rock meteor damage. And his fire attacks didn't really do that much since I had some fire resistance. And likewise, I didn't know what his weakness was. But since he's a skeleton, I assumed it was blunt damage. So I did my best to do a melee fight, but well, he did so many area of effects that I couldn't really get near him. And whenever I do, he does that thing where it deals fire and lightning damage, I guess. And it burns me to death. So this went on for a while, so I decided to make like a base underneath the altar for a resting spot. It was a good idea at first. I was protected from the meteor, but when he does his melee attacks, when the area burns, I am not really protected from the burn effects. I had to run away. I made it more deeper, so now I'm protected from everything, every environment he attacks at me, and I'm currently sheltered inside here. So I think that means I can regenerate more. It seems that my axe did more damage to him than my porcupine, so I started using my axe when I fight him in melee. But yeah, I ran out of like health potions, so I needed to play safe now. That was my last health potion. I also ran out of frost arrows, so I had to run away and go home. I came back immediately after crafting some frost arrows, as I was afraid he would regenerate all the damage I have accumulated so far, and it was a really long fight. So I just maintained my distance and like shot an arrow to his face. It wasn't really high of a damage, so I really needed to whack him with melee or else he'll just keep regenerating all the damage I've been accumulating. Totally forgot about this weapon called the Frostner. If I remember correctly, undeads are pretty weak to spirit attacks. So since this Frostner was made of silver and it also dealt frost damage, I crafted and upgraded it, and hopefully this would aid me in killing Yagluth much faster. And it was amazing against Yagluth. Just look at the damage I'm doing to him. And there's also the spirit picks or damage over time that's sticking his health. It's amazing. It's amazing. And after a bunch more whacking, Yagluth finally died. And we received his loot. So after defeating him, this new bird appeared. It's a white crow. I don't know. Is it a crow even? I wasn't sure. But anyways, his name was Munin, brother to Hugin, the black crow that we always speak to and told us like guides and stuff. So anyways, he just came and greeted us. I then went home and crafted the wisp fountain, the new recipe we gained from getting the Thorn Spirit from Yagluth. So Hugin explained that we just need to wait for darkness and it will attract the wisp. Waiting for the night, I went to the shrine for now and placed the trophy. So Bonemass gave resistance to physical attacks, while Yagluth gave resistance to magical attacks or the elements. I still chose Bonemass. So after waiting for a while, a wisp did came and I grabbed it. And now I had wisp, and now I can make some wisp light. With some silver and the wisp, I made the wisp light. And as the description says, it guides me through the thickest of mist. So the next area we're gonna go to is the Mistlands. This little thing will be very useful in helping us see whatever lies beyond the Mistlands. Alright, so thank you guys for watching our 100 days in Valheim. I'm currently working on part 2, so make sure to click that notification bell and the subscribe button if you haven't yet. So thank you guys, bye, and hope you have a wonderful day.